Hey everyone, I'm Joe, and a few days ago on the 5th of June it happened to be my birthday, so today I am doing a predictable birthday book haul. It is predictable because obviously getting books for my birthday and then doing a haul about them is something booktubers often do. I'm not going to be an exception to that. Also, the books themselves are predictable because 5 out of the 6 books that I'm going to be waving around today were from my wish lists, and my wish lists are not that long. So frankly, I knew pretty much what I was going to get with a very small amount of guessing involved. One of them is from my big sister, and she always buys me books from authors whom I'm normally not familiar with. And indeed, a lot of my favourite authors and favourite series today are because of her. She's bought me some fantastic books, so the book that she's got me, I'm quite interested to read. The books themselves will also be familiar to people that have watched my channel before because they are from authors and part of series that I've waved around before, and you'll just be familiar with seeing them, frankly, at this point. I mean, I certainly am. Anyway, enough about that, let's get straight on to the books. The first 2 books are Alphane from Frolix 8 and Clans of the Alphane Mood, both by Philip K. Dick. If you've watched my channel for a while, you will know that I have been buying Philip K. Dick books for some time now. I've actually got some just there somewhere. These 2 are by a publisher that doesn't match the rest of my Philip K. Dick books, and that is, I'm not sure if you can see this, Mariner Books. They do about 20 to 25 of the full-length Philip K. Dick books in this particular style, with the title being in a little box there and PKD being written on the book there. And I'm very happy that I've got this. This was a test basically to see whether I like this design, and I definitely do. The sides of them together as well, especially when I've got another like 25 of these books, are going to look extremely nice, I think, on my shelf. I'm just going to read the synopsis because frankly I don't know too much about them. I bought them purely because it's Philip K. Dick and I want to own everything by him possible. First of all, Alphane from Frolix 8. In Alphane from Frolix 8, the world is run by an elite few, and what determines whether one is part of the elite isn't wealth or privilege, but brains. As children, every citizen of Earth is tested. Some are found to be super smart new men, and some are unusuals with various psychic powers. The vast majority are undermen, performing menial jobs in an overpopulated world. Nick Appleton is an underman, content to eke out an existence as a tyre regroover, but after his son is classified as an underman, Appleton begins to question the hierarchy. Strengthening his resolve and energising the resistance movement is news that the great resistance leader, Force Pavoni, is returning from a trip to the farthest reaches of space, and he's brought help, a giant indestructible alien. Okay, so I think I did a book where he's investigating society, injustice in society, and he also has a twist, in this case, a giant alien that sounds like Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still. Yep, familiar Philip K. Dick, okay. The next book is Clans of the Alphane Moon. I'll read the synopsis for this. For years, the third moon in the Alphane system was used as a psychiatric hospital. But when war broke out between Earth and the Alphanes, the hospital was left unguarded and the inmates set up their own society, made up of competing factions based on their particular mental illnesses. When Earth sends a delegation to take back the colony, they find enclaves of depressives, schizophrenics, paranoiacs, and others uniting to repel what they see as a foreign invasion. Meanwhile, back on Earth, CIA agent Chuck Rittersdorf and his wife Mary go through a bitter divorce, and Chuck loses everything. But when he is assigned to clandestinely control an android accompanying Mary to the Alphane Moon, he sees an opportunity to get revenge. Yeah, this sounds very familiar to Philip K. Dick. He's talking about psychiatric issues, which he does in quite a lot of his books actually. And obviously this is going to go very deep into psychology, analysis of the way people with psychological issues of various kinds interact with people who don't, and the way they are treated in society. In this case, they set up their entire new society of their own. So definitely an interesting one. The third book is The Prestige by Christopher Priest. This is familiar because, yet again, it's another SF Masterworks, of which you can't quite see, but they're just above the top of the camera view there. I've got a lot of them now. The Prestige is a book that I've been wanting to read, and indeed Christopher Priest is an author that I've been wanting to read for an age. They made a film of The Prestige about 10 years ago now with Christian Bale in it, which I loved. It is an absolutely fantastic film, and I would recommend you watching the film as well. This is a book of it. I'm very curious to see obviously where they changed it and how they changed it to make it into a film. I'm hoping it's not too drastic. Sometimes with books to films they can change them totally so they've got like a couple of names in common and that's it. Hopefully it's still somewhat similar. Obviously not too similar, because otherwise I might as well watch the film and not bother reading the book, frankly. I'll read the synopsis. Alfred Borden and Rupert Angier first clash in 1878 in a darkened salon at a fraudulent seance conducted by Angier. From then on, the two young illusionists engage in an increasingly bitter and deadly feud on the stages of Victorian music halls, and each is driven to extremes by the mystery of an amazing illusion they each perform. For both, there is much more at risk than the mere workings of a trick, and the legacy of the hatred and obsessively guarded secrets will reverberate down the years. So, I'm interested in this one, definitely. The fourth book is The Continuous Caffeine Mortenhoe by D.G. Compton. Yep, another masterworks. That's basically a large part of what made up my wish list, to be honest. This one, I don't know anything about it really, other than what it says on the back, on the synopsis. It sounded interesting when I was looking up books to add to my wish list, so hence why I've got it now, and I'll read the synopsis. A few years in the future, medical science has advanced to the point where it is practically unheard of for people to die of any cause except old age. The few exceptions provide the fodder for a new kind of television show for avid audiences who lap up the experience of watching someone else's dying weeks. God, that's cool. So when Katherine Mortenhoe is told that she has about 4 weeks to live, she knows it's not just her life she's about to lose, but her privacy as well. Okay, this is an interesting one. I remember why I added it now. I don't like reality TV, if you didn't know already. I hate reality TV, all forms of it. This is obviously taking reality TV to a really weird level and showing you somebody who is dying on a day-to-day basis and making a fun and popular program out of it, which is really quite twisted. So this does sound quite an interesting one. The fifth and penultimate book is Take Back Plenty by Colin Greenland. Yes, this is another SF Masterworks, but the final one of this video. Basically, I added this to my wish list, frankly, because the cover really caught my eye because it is extremely bright and colourful. It's actually one of the brightest and most colourful covers of any book I've bought, at least this year, possibly for several years. It's a beautiful cover, actually. The book itself does sound interesting, of which I will now read out. It is carnival time on Mars, but to be fat Jute isn't partying. She is in hiding from the law, penniless and about to lose her livelihood, and her best friend, the space barge Alice Liddell. Then the intriguing Marco Metz offers her some money to take him to Plenty, and the adventure begins. This fast-moving space adventure was the first novel to win both the BSFA and Arthur C. Clarke Award, which is pretty interesting by itself, actually. So it sounds like an interesting plot. It's got a woman who's doing some sort of dubious sort of job or favour for somebody to try and make some money. He's best friends with a space barge, which sounds odd, although not unusual, frankly, for some of the stuff I read. And it definitely sounds my kind of book, frankly. The last book is The End of the World Running Club by Adrian J. Walker. This is a book that my big sister bought me. I had no idea what she's going to buy me, I never do. It sounds a bit different from some of the things I read, slightly, hence why she buys it me. She tries to buy me things that she thinks I'd like, and obviously tries to expand what I read. She knows that I actively look forward to her present, in particular every birthday and Christmas. So I suppose in a way she's got quite a pressure to sort of buy me something that she really hopes I will enjoy. And this does sound a good candidate, frankly. The Ultimate Race Against Time Filler. When the world ends and you find yourself stranded on the wrong side of the country, every second counts. No one knows that more than Edgar Hill. 550 miles away from his family, he must push himself to the very limit to get back to them or risk losing them forever. His best option is to run. But what if your best isn't good enough? This has a little sticker on the front of it called The Book Club Radio 2, BBC Radio 2. So it must be some sort of thing to do with that. I don't know, I've never listened to it myself, but presumably this has made it sort of quite highly, up in people's estimation and things. It sounds quite interesting to me. The idea of a super long run actually makes me think of The Long Walk by Stephen King, which is almost certainly nothing like it because that is extremely dark and extremely super brutal. This is in a very different manner, but it definitely does sound interesting, and I'm definitely interested to read this in the hopefully near future, but we'll see. So that's the last of the books. 6 books, all of which sound really, really interesting, and I'm quite happy to own and read in the near future, maybe. But I always have that. And then something get delayed like several years. Oh well. Anyway, if you've read any of these books or would like to read any of them, then please leave a comment below and we can have a conversation. All my social media links can be found in the description box below, as they always are. And that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.